What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Schrager Hour. We've gotten a lot of responses from last week's interview with Ben Johnson. It was wonderful. It went on ESPN2. The phone was blowing up with texts, most of them saying, oh my gosh, Ben Johnson, whatever. Mark Grillo, television debut, fantastic. Your producer was excellent on camera at the end. It was fun. As I start this week, it's Tuesday morning. Let me give you a little lay of the land of where we're at in the NFL. Did Monday Night Football yesterday in Los Angeles. Took a red-eye flight back. Woke up this morning in New York City. Ran to the microphone. Put the cans on because we got Josh McDaniels on. And he's coming on in a little bit. And it's just like Ben Johnson, a guy who doesn't do a ton of media. A guy who's not out there on every couch doing late-night television. I've known Josh for a long time, and I'm excited to bring him on the Schrager Hour, and he's going to come on just a bit. But we got to recap the weekend that was in the NFL. First off, my weekend. Get out to Los Angeles. Dinner with Troy Aikman Sunday night at a place called Fia Steak on Wilshire in Los Angeles. I'd never been in Santa Monica. It's actually recommended by Mike LaFleur, who's the offensive coordinator of the Rams and used to be with the Jets. And of course, is Matt's younger brother. Mike said, this is my guy. Go there. The owner's name is a guy named Michael Greco. So Michael used to be in the Bronx here in New York, had a few restaurants here. Then was a big Vegas guy. When he was in Vegas, Michael did Pure Nightclub at Caesar's Palace and did the Hard Rock parties, those rehab parties that you'd have outside Hard Rock. Now he's in Los Angeles. Fia Steak is his big spot out there. I go with Aikman. Now I'm always a little tentative. It's now just me and Aikman. It's not the whole crew. And I'm like, Troy doesn't like a big scene. Troy doesn't like a big crowd. Can we just get a television with the game so Troy and I can have some food, talk, and whatever? It was perfect. We get there. I get the little teeny filet. Troy gets that cowboy tomahawk joint he does. But we're watching the Chiefs. And as we're watching the Chiefs, things are happening that don't happen to the Chiefs. Multiple third and long conversions allowed. A missed field goal. Again, this is not Butker. Every week it seems like Butker's missing a field goal. Missed a huge missed field goal in this game. Mahomes has Thornton deep, throws it, looks like a good pass. Thornton can't hold on. And then you look at the replay and it's like, all right, well, Mahomes had Thornton by 5 yards. If Mahomes throws it deeper, maybe that's the touchdown pass that keeps this season alive. The 4th and 1 decision, they fail. The 4th and 4 decision, they fail. And what's head scratching is, they didn't suffer a big injury this season. This isn't like Mahomes missed 6 weeks or Kelsey was out for 10 weeks or Chris Jones. All those guys are there. And that's why I'm having such a hard time just putting my finger on it or grasping or understanding why on December 8th or December 9th and December 10th, we're talking about the Chiefs with the past tense. 1-6 in those one-score games matter, but the penalties, the missed field goals, and it all kind of just ended this year. All that magic, it kind of wasn't there. I made this analogy on NFL Live. If you've seen the movie Titanic, one of the most telling scenes is the ship is like nearly upward at this point. It's like tilted all the way upward. And you've got the violin players and everyone's fleeing for their life. And the violin player is there till the very end. And he looks at his 2 colleagues and says, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure playing with you. That's how I felt picking the Chiefs on Get Up on Friday. Like, I knew they weren't winning. It didn't feel like they should win this game. They were down 3 offensive linemen. They lose a 4th on the first play of the game when Morris goes down. I know. And yet I wasn't willing to quit. I wasn't willing to let it go. I was going to ride this thing till the wheels came off, or in this case, till the ship actually was underwater. Truth of the matter is they still have a 10% chance to make the playoffs. They need a little bit of help. A lot of bit of help. 10% chance for you math wizards out there. There's a 1 in 10 chance that they still make the playoffs. Can't win the AFC West, so they have to go on this crazy long road. But I think it's done. Then you wonder, well, is it done? Or is it like done? If it's done, it means we're going to have to go through some valleys watching this franchise rebuild and make some tough decisions and have to get bigger and maybe, address some of the spots on the field that they thought that they did address, but they didn't. Or is it done in that they were 1-6 in one-score games and Mahomes is 31, and next year, whether Kelsey's out there or not, they're still, got Rashee Rice. They still got Isaiah Pacheco. They still got a ton of young defensive players who they love. And you don't go 1-6 in one-score games, and you don't start the season off on a bad foot out in Brazil. And maybe things go differently. I originally would go into that conversation and say it's the latter. Mahomes is 31 years old. He's still your quarterback. As long as you got Mahomes on the field, like, you're going to be. Aikman really made an interesting point at dinner, and I wasn't just starting the pod by saying I had a steak with Aikman to tell you I had a steak with Aikman. I come around because it's the Chiefs. He looked at me and he's like, "It's not that easy. It's not that easy." I go, "I know. Yeah, I know it's not that easy. Like, I get it." He's like, "No, I thought I'd be back." So I'm like, "All right, Aikman." It's not really, it doesn't really make sense with Brady. It doesn't really make sense with Manning, because those guys, Brady did it with a whole bunch of different guys after a 10-year wait. Manning, um, went to a different team and won it after losing a couple of years with those Broncos squads, and then won it and got his second ring and retired off into the sunset. Aikman might be the best comparison, and those 90s Cowboys might be the best comparison, in that they won 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. They went to the NFC Championship in that one year they didn't win. And then they were competitive those next few years, but they never got back. They never got back to a Super Bowl. They never got back to an NFC Championship game. Aikman, of course, would get injured here and there. Irvin would get injured. Emmett would eventually, leave for the Cardinals. Like, they never got back. Is this Chiefs team a one-year blip, and that we'll be talking about them next August, and I'll be picking them to win the Super Bowl because, they had such a good summer, good offseason, they rebuilt and they're back? Or is this those Cowboys teams of the 90s where they owned the decade, and then in the latter half of the decade, teams surpassed them? Teams went past them. The Broncos won 2 Super Bowls. The Rams had the greatest show on turf. The Vikings were throwing the ball all over the yard. The Dirty Bird Falcons had a moment. The Cowboys didn't. They didn't in those late 90s. And I think it's going to, of course, come down to quarterback and coach, but I'm very interested to see what they do this offseason to retool. And here I am reading an obituary around the Kansas City Chiefs. And like I said, they still have a 10% chance to make the dance. If I was playing violin and sinking on the ship with those guys, I was sitting there with a smile a mile wide on my flight to LA. I was on that JetBlue Mint deal where you could watch all the games. How fun was Bengals Bills? I know that if you're a Bengals fan, you're like, it's not fun at all. We're out. We're not competitive anymore. And so, no, you have to appreciate Burrow. You have to appreciate Allen. And what Josh Allen did was just silly. I honestly feel this way. I know I'm the most pro NFL, giddy, love NFL guy, but like, the fact that I am paid to talk and watch and be a pundit and get to see Josh Allen do the things that he did on Sunday, it makes me pinch myself. I know I'm the luckiest guy in the world. And anyone who tells you otherwise is like, Josh Allen was unbelievable on Sunday. So much so that I'm watching on the plane and cackling. The fourth down pass to Shakir, that's a touchdown. That is a 0% chance of a completion. He makes it. The run on the long third down, a 0% chance that other quarterbacks can do this. And then all the clutch plays late, all the big moments. Josh Allen's back. Josh Allen's alive. And it sets up an amazing game Sunday against the Patriots, where if the Patriots win, they are the hot team. If the Bills win, you better believe we'll be doing the MVP discussion around Josh Allen Monday morning. Because I don't know if Drake Maye sees that thing. I don't know if Matthew Stafford sees that thing. And MVP does matter. And if Josh Allen can find a way to take this team from where they were after that loss to Atlanta, where they were after that loss to New England, where they were after that loss just a couple Thursday nights ago to the Houston Texans, and just say, come on, I got you. Throw it on my back. I'm the MVP. I'm the best player in the league. Let me take us there. Because that's what he did on Sunday. Yes, Benford makes the 2 huge plays on defense, but the Buffalo Bills are alive, and Josh Allen it played about as good a game as I could possibly imagine. NFL Films did an incredible job. they had the camera angle right behind Sean McDermott on the Khalil Shakir touchdown. If you haven't seen it, I tweeted it out. Go find it. It is awesome cinematography. It's Allen doing all the things he does. And yes, this is my Josh Allen. And he hits Shakir, and then it's McDermott right behind him, just like hugging him, like, yes, we did it. They're going to ride that guy. It's fantastic. The part I love about this season, though, is that there are teams that are defense first. The Packers, as good as Jordan Love is, and as much of an offensive coach Matt LaFleur is, they can be seen as a defensive first team, a team that shut down a Bears offense that ran for 1,000,000 yards. The Denver Broncos, as good as Bo Nix has had his moments in clutch spots and scored all those points against Washington, they are a defensive first team where the strength of their team is their defense. I know Sean Payton's an offensive coach. If you want a true defensive team, though, that can flip this entire league, it's the Houston Texans. D'Amico Ryans is a defensive head coach, former player, of course, and a former defensive coach and coordinator. Matt Burke calls the defense, a name you're not hearing anywhere. Matt Burke, who's getting quiet head coaching buzz around the league, is a defensive coordinator and calls the defense for the Houston Texans. They had 3 interceptions in that game against the Kansas City Chiefs. But if you consider all the drops that the Chiefs had, you don't really look at them as drops. You look at them as pass breakups and the pressure that those Texans defenders put on them. No one throws at Stingley anymore, so you don't even see him. And look how Petrie steps up, the one safety. Look how Bullock steps up, the other safety. And then look at Lassiter, who I think is fantastic at the other corner. This is a team that has 4 different defensive backs who have at least 4 interceptions on the year. You add that with the underneath defenders that are all hitters, and then you have this pass rush that could compete with anybody. And then CJ Stroud played wonderfully on a national spotlight on the road. I like Houston because they're built differently than everybody else. Hey, Woody Marks and Nico Collins, these guys are good. And Nico Collins is a stud. And CJ Stroud is a second overall pick. Don't get me wrong. This is a defensive first team. And if they make a run, it's going to be interesting. The way the NFL has gone, where it's always been, the last 10 years, offense, quarterback, can your defense make a stop when it's needed? But if you don't have the offensive fireworks, you can't compete. You need Saquon going for 2,000 yards to win a Super Bowl. You need Mahomes to throw 50 touchdowns to get to the AFC Championship. If you can watch this Houston Texans team, that all they got to do is score 20 points and they win games, it's a bit of a change of philosophy. Very interesting to see what they do over the next course of the next few weeks and what they do in the playoffs. Because right now, they're a wild card team. Yes, the Jacksonville Jaguars lead that division. Yes, the Jacksonville Jaguars. I watched that game against the Colts. I had my AirPods in, watching him on the JetBlue flight. I watched it. I thought it was good. And I saw a version of Trevor Lawrence I had not seen yet before. Maybe his best football since that 2022 season where they went to the playoffs. And then I heard a version of Trevor Lawrence that I have not heard before. And it's one that I think comes from their head coach, who's got a little bit of that, I don't know, SOB in him. Yeah, Liam Cohen has got a little bit of that bite, and I think it's bleeding into Trevor Lawrence. We've seen a million Trevor Lawrence sound bites over our time covering the NFL and covering Trevor Lawrence back to college. Have we ever heard him like this? Take a listen to him in the postgame.
I just think for our team, it's anything you can use as fuel, you use it. We know that it doesn't really matter what anybody says on the outside, but you use all that as fuel. And, I think we all feel like we're a really good team and probably don't get the credit we deserve. And everybody talks about every other team. And even in our own division, it's all these other teams that are going to go, win the division and do all these things. And nobody really cares about the Jags, which is fine. It's kind of just how it is. And we'll use that as a chip on our shoulder and keep playing. But it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, we got to go out there on Sunday and play well.
Yeah, I love that. Let's go, Trevor Lawrence. Bill Simmons calls this the nobody believes in us team. Trevor Lawrence, that's where whether or not people believe in you or not, it's secondary. In that building, they start saying, hey, no one's talking about us. Everyone's obsessed with the Texans. Everyone's talking about the Colts. What about us? What about us? I like that from Trevor Lawrence. To just finish up the travels, I'm going to the game on Monday, and I'm in the hotel lobby, and I hear a familiar voice. Guys, I heard Arnold Schwarzenegger's voice. saw Arnold Schwarzenegger in the lobby of my hotel on Monday morning, and I'm with Sean, who's one of the security guys and drivers over at ESPN, and like we're geeking out. I'm like, that's Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he was doing like mundane things, like he was going to breakfast, and I'm just like watching, like that's Commando, that's Predator, like that's T2, that's him, Kindergarten Cop, I'm looking at him, and it is not a tumor, and he's like, I'll have the eggs, and it was mind boggling. So then we get in a car ride over to the game, and I'll tell you, Ryan Clark, Marcus Spears, and I had one of the greatest conversations with Sean driving, going through the filmography of Schwarzenegger versus Stallone. We're doing Schwarzenegger, Stallone, and a little bit of just appreciation for both. And then it quickly pivoted to who's the GOAT of our generation. And I was like, do you consider Pacino, De Niro our generation? And they were like, it's a little bit on that next. And I think we settled out with Denzel Washington, but some other receiving votes: Brad Pitt, Matt Damon. I thought this one was interesting. Joaquin Phoenix got a lot of love in this conversation. Ed Norton got mentioned in this conversation. We start having it. We're going through movies by movies by movies. Tom Hanks gets mentioned, and we did 10 minutes on the ride from the hotel to SoFi just on Tom Hanks and how, yes, Forrest Gump is the film that he's most known for, in Philadelphia and all those. But let's not sleep on the Green Mile. I mean, we were going deep, and that is why I love going on the road and being on site. And then that football game happened, and if you're an Eagles fan, I'm tired of talking about them. I don't know what to tell you. They said they spent the 10 days analyzing the offense, and Sirianni is going to play a bigger role. Well, they went into shotgun the entire time, and Jalen Hurts had a bunch of turnovers. I don't know. I don't know, Eagles fans. You still might make the playoffs. I don't know if that's enough for you to be satisfied. I don't see the magic necessarily just clicking. They do have the talent. They do have the history. They do have the experience. All the things you'd want in a team is there. It just doesn't look it. And then Justin Herbert, just incredible toughness, incredible, what do you call it? Courage, all that. To go from Arnold Schwarzenegger eating eggs to watching Justin Herbert playing with a broken hand and still finding a way to win and keep his team alive. That's a pretty cool Monday. Our player of the week is Nick Emmanwori, the rookie for the Seattle Seahawks, a safety who does just about everything. He's 200 plus pounds, and he had an interception, a blocked kick, a sack, 6 tackles, and 2 tackles for a loss versus the Atlanta Falcons on Sunday. It's one of the greatest stat lines you'll see. Nick was one of these guys who everyone was talking about as a first-round pick and fell to the beginning of the second round. Seahawks scooped him right up. He's been incredible for them. Nick Emmanwori, look for him to play a huge role over the next few weeks of the season. Of course, the Seahawks play the Rams in a must-watch game in 2 weeks, after the Rams, of course, have to play Detroit this weekend. Our sports media winners of the week are some of my colleagues at ESPN and the ACC conference. So much suspense and so much frustration and so much confusion at the NFL level over, okay, this is a call on the field. They're going to review it. Let's go to our person in the booth. The person in the booth says something, but the league office says something else. The eye in the sky says something else. And then, the ref on the field has a completely different explanation. And it turns out that the person who were being paid to call the game and talk about it in the booth was actually wrong, but he's got the right idea. All of it's nuts. I just want to know how we got there. What's the conversation? How cool is this? Our sports media winner of the week, we're going to go to Greg McElroy, Sean McDonough, and we are going to go to the producer and the director of their crew. And those guys' names I'm going to give them the proper names here because very rarely do those guys get the shout out. Those names are Brian Ryder, who's the producer, and the director is Jeff Evers, and the ACC for giving us a little window into the conversations behind replay review. They did it all season, and it came up Saturday night in the ACC championship. Take a listen.
Lane and James Madison were ranked in the top 25 by the College Football Playoff Selection Committee this week. Duke was not. Both of those teams won their conferences. Duke's not going to jump over them, almost certainly.
I believe it's over. I believe the catch process is over at this point. So, no, they ruled an incomplete pass.
We ruled incomplete pass.
So based off of this look, we're going to overturn the ruling on the field.
Got it.
And we are going to make this, it's going to be 1st and 10 at the plus 35-yard line.
Okay, so he maintained.
And the hash will be 1.
Right, so the receiver caught the ball.
This is the coolest thing we've seen on a broadcast. So that right there was the official talking with the replay review folks at the ACC in the league office, talking to those guys, and we have access to the actual conversation. In the NFL, you have a crazy play. We go to commercial. We come back. We have Blandino or we have McCauley, whatever, they weigh in. And then we come out and it's on bated breath, and then they make an explanation, and then we move on. And we're all like, well, how did you come to that explanation? How about having access to the actual conversation between the folks on the field, the official, and the guys who are actually helping them in the league office? I thought it was awesome. I thought it was cool. That was my favorite moment in sports media this week. And I'm hoping we can get that for the NFL moving forward. We have an amazing, amazing guest up ahead. I can't wait to speak with him. Josh McDaniels joins after this. Now, with no further ado, 6-time Super Bowl champion, one of the best offensive minds to ever coach this game. And now he's back in the saddle where it all began, the New England Patriots. Their offensive coordinator, Josh McDaniels, joins us on the Schrager Hour. Josh, what's up, man?
How you doing, Peter? Great to be with you.
I'm doing wonderful, and we're coming off a bye week for the New England Patriots. I got to ask, when a team has a bye in week 14, how do you spend the Sunday? Are you sitting there on the couch watching? Are you in the office? Like what? It's such a late bye, and you guys are in the driver's seat in the division. How do you take in the football in a bye week that late into the campaign?
Yeah, we had Coach gave us a handful of days off, which was great for everybody to get a little rest, and then we were back in on Sunday. Which was good because it honestly being home on a Sunday and watching all the games is kind of a brutal activity for a coach because you almost feel like you're falling behind even though you're not playing. So we were here and getting a head start obviously on our next game, which is going to be really critical and very difficult against Buffalo. So working ahead on them, having an opportunity to watch a little bit of that game as well, but we were all rested and ready to get back to work by Sunday.
Absolutely. I introduced you as a 6-time Super Bowl champion. For the listeners and viewers at home, that's every Super Bowl the Patriots have won. You have been on staff in some capacity. In a lot of those spots, the offensive coordinator or the guy working directly with the quarterback position. This is your 3rd stint with New England. How's it feel being back? How's it feel calling play? How's it feel walking into that building all over again at this point in your career?
It feels like home, and that's not. I don't mean that in a, any other way than what it sounds like. I've spent the majority of my coaching career here. My kids have all grown up in New England. They do not claim Ohio to be where they're from, just because my wife and I grew up in Ohio. So it does. It feels like home. I've got great memories of growing up here, learning this profession, being part of some really cool teams, and really having been influenced by a number of great people, coaches, support staff, players, certainly, and most importantly. It's exciting to be here. Things change, as you know. I mean, it's not the same as it used to be anywhere. So it's exciting to kind of see the evolution of this organization under Mike and the Kraft family. And it's been really cool to be back here.
Same parking space, same office, like all that stuff I'm curious about, like the nooks and crannies and the day-to-day, because I can't imagine going back to like a job that I had 5 years ago and like walking back at the same exact role and saying, all right, it's different people, different environment, but like it is the same building.
Yeah, it is. And we don't have parking spots other than if you're an off-season award winner, which is great. So that depends on when you get here in the morning, but it's the same office. We're getting ready to move into a new facility next spring, which will be really good, exciting for all of us here. And certainly the guys are excited about that as well. But familiarity in terms of the building, the practice field, the locker room, all those kind of things. It's neat to be back in a place where you kind of understand, where things are at. You're not necessarily learning where they're all at this year, as some of these other guys are that I'm trying to help now. So, a lot of comfortability for me in that regard. But most importantly, enjoy being here and doing the job that I have.
Yeah, and last personal part of it is, your kids. You mentioned that they claim New England home. One of the things I loved about you always, the many years we've known each other, you'll always ask about my family first. How your little guy? How's he doing? I ask your kids. They come back now to Foxborough. Are they already out of high school? I don't even know how old they are at this point because I remember them as little ones. Is that a cool adjustment for them to be back?
Yeah, it's amazing for them. I have two in college. One of them's actually at Boston College. My oldest daughter, Maddie, is at Boston College. So to have her this close to where we're at, we're still in the same house that we moved into back in 2012 when I came back after St. Louis. And she's now experiencing college, with, her dad as a part of this organization, which for her is incredible.
So cool.
She's been to a number of home games. She brings half the student body with her when she comes because it's kind of an event for them.
Yeah.
And then my youngest daughters, are in school here in Westwood, and it's an opportunity for them to kind of experience some of the things that my older kids already experience, different team, different group of people, but they're having an opportunity to experience that as well, and they enjoy it. So things are good in terms of, family. And as you know, that's most important. So my kids are happy. My wife's happy, and I love being here.
Yeah. And you seem happy. I go through your career, Josh, and I was going through the Patriots website, and they got your resume on there, and it says hired as a personnel assistant in 2001.
Yep.
Take us back to Josh McDaniels, East Lansing, Michigan State graduate assistant. How do you end up with New England in 2001?
Yeah. Brian Daboll and I actually worked together at Michigan State for Coach Saban. And that was a blessing, not only just to work for Nick and to see how he operated and how he really, his process and what he did and what made him so successful as a coach, but to also get to meet other people that I worked with. And Brian had been there a year prior. So, Brian's second year came and went, and then Nick, had recommended Brian to Coach Belichick back in 2000 when they just came here. And so Brian started as a quality control coach on the defensive side, doing the grunt work. And Dabes and I stayed in contact in that year 2000. And then at the end of that year, he said, if they offer, an opportunity for another guy to come in here, do you have any interest in that? And I said, absolutely. I would absolutely have interest in that. Certainly enjoyed being around Brian, but I thought that was cool having an opportunity to work
NFL.
In the NFL. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So, one thing led to another. Had an opportunity to come up and interview in early 2001. And they kind of, it was like a hybrid position, if you will, like a little bit of work in the personnel department for Scott Pioli. Really cool to see how that operated, how that whole scouting side of it works. And at the same time, breaking down film for the defensive staff. So I was like the film breakdown guy. I really wasn't in the meetings in 2001 or anything like that, but I was getting my feet wet, in a lot of different areas. And it was great for me to have an opportunity to see how it all fits together. And then, from there progressed forward. But, Brian and I we stay in touch to this day. I just spoke to him last week. He's a great friend of mine, and our coaching careers are intertwined forever based on how we started.
Yeah. And you think about that version of you in 2001, you go to a Super Bowl your first year, you guys win the Super Bowl, U2's playing at halftime, you contain Marshall Faulk for the most part, like all the, Did you know then how hard it is to get back to the top of the mountain, or was it just like, we won the Super Bowl? Like, do you have any idea?
Actually, no idea. I mean, I was up there. I was the guy in the press box doing the still photos back then because we didn't have the tablets, right? So that was my job on game day. I'm in the press box hitting the button twice, once before the play, once after it started, just to to have something, some project to do on game day, and then handing those to the coaches that were on the headsets. And really was just felt so lucky to be kind of a part of that whole ride, and Drew got injured and then Tommy came in and, it's like all this stuff happening. I literally was just trying to figure out how to do the things I was supposed to do on a daily basis.
How to get to work every day. Yeah.
I had no idea what was going on. I was picking people up from the airport and, back then, taking them to physicals and all that stuff. Whatever they asked me to do, I was doing. And I love the way that started for me because I got a chance to see how it all kind of fits together, and what good memories Laura and I have from those early days.
Yeah. Okay. So then you go from there. You're a defensive assistant your first couple of years, and then eventually you're moved to the offensive side of the ball. And here's Tom Brady, who's already like a 3-time Super Bowl champion. Like, hey, you're his coach right now.
Yeah.
How did that go down? How is that transition, and how did that relationship really mature?
Yeah. It was one of those things where, Bill gave me an opportunity and said, hey, I think this would be a decent opportunity for you to kind of maybe come over. And I was with the secondary for 2 years in 2002 and 2003. And it was like, you know what, I think you may be able to add something to that room in terms of teaching them like the rules that the defensive backs go through on a weekly basis. Like, what are they looking for? How do they analyze the quarterback, et cetera? So that was kind of our initial connection, if you will. But he was so accomplished already at a young age. And I was, of course, just learning the offense because I didn't know it. So Charlie Weiss spent an inordinate amount of time with me that first offseason in 2004, just trying to get me ready so that when the players came back in April, like I had some semblance of an idea of what we were talking about. He was really helpful to me that whole entire year. Taught me the foundation of the system, the terminology that I've used my whole career offensively, and really tried to do what I could to help Tom. I certainly wasn't going to, dramatically impact him at that point because of how accomplished he'd already been. But he's such a good person and he's so eager to learn and he wanted to work hard. So if I found anything that I felt like was an advantage or what have you, just sharing it with them on a weekly basis and learning how to coach the quarterbacks, more importantly, watching Charlie, seeing how he communicated with them. That was really, really critical for me at an early age to kind of figure out how does this work, especially with a guy like that.
That first run, who are some of the quarterbacks in those rooms? Is that like Kingsbury and O'Connell, or am I all over the place?
O'Connell is a little later.
Okay.
Kingsbury for sure. I was my first after Charlie left was when we ended up with Flutie, Testaverde. Flutie, Testaverde was 2006. Flutie was 2005. Castle was a young guy in that room from 2005 to 2008. Matt Castle was such what a cool story that was, but a really good sidekick for Tom, young guy, kind of all full of piss and vinegar, all that stuff, and wanted to learn and really worked his butt off to try to be ready if forever, his number was called, which it obviously was. So, Vinny, Doug, Rohan, Davey was really early. Jim Miller, I got a chance to be around Jimmy in 2004. And then the guy like the O'Connell came in 2007, 2008. And then obviously the second wave too after that.
So they win the 3 Super Bowls, and then it's this offseason where you're given a guy named Randy Moss and you're told, hey, figure this out and make this work. And it's maybe the greatest offensive season that any team's ever had. I don't care about stats. There's no team that dominated on a week-to-week basis than that 2007 Patriots team. What was it like when Randy first walked in that building and you guys were like, wait, we can open it up this way?
Yeah. I picked him up from the airport.
Did you? Tell the story. Come on.
That was crazy. So they called me the night before. I don't remember exactly which day of the draft it was, Peter.
I think it was day 2. It was day 2 at the time. It was the Saturday.
Yeah, and so I got a call and say, hey, we're going to do this, and he's flying in the morning. Would you mind just going up there to Logan and getting him, and then just kind of break the ice, talk to him, have conversation, figure things, you just started on the right foot, right? So I did. I went up there, and it was at a private terminal up there at Logan, and got him, and then we had a decent conversation on the way back to the facility. But again, this is like my first interaction with him, and I had heard about him.
Yeah, it's Randy Moss.
But I'm like, holy cow, like this guy's different. You could just tell. He had an edge about him it was incredible, and a confidence about him, and honestly a purpose, because I could tell he wanted to kind of reestablish who he was. You know what I mean? Because he had a couple of years where everybody was saying, is he kind of on the decline? Is he not? Et cetera. So what a really cool opportunity that was to just kind of break the ice. And we talked a lot about a lot of different things. He was really one of the smartest players I'll ever be around, without question, and did such an incredible job of explaining how people try to defend him. And you talk about being defended every which way you could possibly be defended, from viced to doubled to in and out to over the top to triple team to linebackers running out to him. He had seen it all. And so it was an education for me just to listen to him talk about all the different things he'd seen and some of the things that had worked for him, because certainly we were entering into a different era, of how do we get this guy the ball on a consistent basis when he's getting double teamed, et cetera. So it was a great opportunity for me to learn at a young age, from a great, great player who had seen a lot of football.
I love that you say it that way. Not, hey, I loved coaching him, or I love doing this. I love to learn from him. I feel like that's something you say often. You learned from Brady. You learned from, Moss and Gronk, Edelman, all these guys. You always say it's such an honor to work and learn from them. Is that a philosophy of yours, that, hey, the player is going to be the guy, I'm just there to aid them and pick up from them? Because I don't very rarely hear you say like, well, when I had him, he did this,
Yeah. Well, I think, look, they're the ones out there playing, and what they see matters, and how they feel about certain things is important. It's not like, coaches have ideas and we see film and those kind of things, but the players on the field kind of get it. You know what I mean? They understand the leverage people are playing, or the little things that they see that I can't see. I'm not out there on the field. So, who be it for me to tell them, when they're the ones that are living through it on a play-to-play basis. So I've learned from a number of players so many different things, from when I was just a little pissant in the defensive back room with Ty Law, Lawyer Malloy, to Bucky, Terrell Buckley. Like, those guys taught me a lot about, how to coach NFL players and what matters to them. And then obviously being around Tom and Randy and Willie McGinnis and Brewski and Vrabes and those guys. I mean, when I was young, I was listening and learning a lot more than I was teaching. And I really cherished those opportunities that I had, at such a young age. And Randy was certainly a very unique one.
It's interesting you talk about Vrabel, because here it's, oh, wow, the tables have turned. Now he's the coach and you're, the coordinator. But like the way you talk, it doesn't probably seem that way, that you guys always had a relationship where it was interchangeable. Who's the dominant person on the org chart really doesn't really matter.
No, I mean, he was an awesome guy to be around as a coach when he was playing, so smart, and, did everything he could possibly do to help our team win, including play on offense and all that stuff, as you know. And, I grew up in the same area that he did. And we grew up about 15 minutes apart from one another in Ohio. And I had always been aware of him even before he came here.
Same age, or is he
very close? Yeah.
Okay.
He's a little older than me by like a few months, but not much. And then, just having this opportunity and seeing what he's been able to do is really what a cool thing, to see a guy that was a great football player, Patriots Hall of Famer, and start his coaching career and do it all the right way. He started from kind of the ground up and with the Ohio State and Houston, and goes to Tennessee and has such a great run there. And, he's got his own way to do things, which is incredibly successful. And it's great to be part of this whole thing we're building.
Was it a no-brainer when he called, or how did it all go down? Because I know you weren't technically coaching anywhere last year, so you had a chance to kind of observe from afar. And we'll get into last year. I think it's interesting what you learned and all that. But how did the call go down with Vrabel? Was it a no-brainer? Like this is just going to happen. If he's the head coach, I'm the OC. It's got to work that way. Or was it you had to kind of pitch yourself to him and say, "Hey, I'd really like to work for you, man"?
No, it was really well done in terms of the communication was the way it should be. The interview process, I had a chance to speak with he and Elliot both, and went through that process as honestly and fairly as everybody else did, I think. And it was great for me because I got to ask questions, and I think that's always a good part of an interview is when you're going into something, to make sure that you ask the questions that you feel are important to you, and in terms of how this would go and what he's looking for and all that, because that's important. What you want to do a great job for whoever may hire you. And so to have an opportunity to ask those questions to those guys in the process, that meant a lot to me. And I was happy to go through all of the things we discussed, in terms of offensive philosophy and quarterback play and coaching the quarterback position and how, all those different things we discussed. So I really enjoyed that process. Wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do, how it was going to go, but certainly when the opportunity was presented to me, this was a very simple decision.
And what was it like seeing Mr. Kraft, seeing Robert Kraft in the building the first time you came back in for that third different stint with the Patriots?
Yeah, it was cool. It was kind of like, why do I keep leaving? You know what I mean? So, my best memories, certainly in pro football, have all occurred here. And I don't think that's a secret to anybody. And again, just a lot of people that I've seen since I've been back have been incredible. And I look forward to continuing to build this thing here with Vrabes.
What did you do last year? I know Mike McCarthy, when he was gone for a year, he was like, I don't know anything about these analytics. I'm going to dig in and do the analytics. Sean Payton worked with me at Fox for a year, and he got back in. We didn't hear much. What was Josh McDaniels doing during the 2024 season?
I think the first thing I was doing was really trying to get healthy in terms of just you're coaching for 20 some years, and it's a lot of stress, it's a lot of time on task, it's a lot of you put yourself kind of in the back burner a little bit, when you're doing this thing and grinding it at both ends, and so it gave me an opportunity to really kind of put myself and my health first. And I lost weight that I needed to lose. Certainly. I feel great. That was a really big part of last year for me, which I really enjoyed. I got to take my kids to school every day, spend time with my wife, see my son play college football, take my oldest daughter on college visits. So I got to be a dad, honestly. And I think by the this time last year, I had a peace and a joy about myself that I don't know that I didn't lose it when I was coaching, but I just know that I had regained it and had a different perspective on life and what I was looking for. And if it was going to present itself or not, I didn't know, but I certainly found peace and joy. And I have that to this day.
I love that, man. And then you get to this team and you unwrap this present, the second-year quarterback who's built like an Adonis and seems to have it all above the neck. Like, take us through your first impressions of Drake Maye.
Yeah, he's a special kid, and I've told his parents a number of times, they've done an incredible job with their boys. And, just being around him on a daily basis, you talk about a kid who's got his priorities straight. He's of the highest character. He's a great teammate. He's easy to coach. He's, the guy that's going to grind and work as hard as anybody else. Wants to win, but wants his teammates and the people around him to win also. And so it's just been such a pleasure to be around him and coach him. And he listens. He asks great questions. I mean, advanced questions, which that was one of the first things that I realized when I started to have the opportunity to work with him in the meeting room, was the questions he asked were just questions that a guy that had been in the league 4, 5, 6 years would ask, And so you knew you were dealing with a guy that could think the game of football. And that doesn't even include the physical attributes and the things that he can do physically, which are awesome too. So great opportunity for me, but for us, our staff, the guys here, this organization, to have an opportunity to be with him and be around him on a daily basis has just been awesome.
Was there a play in practice over the summer or training camp that you could describe that he did something and you kind of looked over to Vrabes, or maybe you looked over to Todd Dowling and you're like, hey, we got something here?
Yeah, there was one in training camp, I think, where there was a broken play and he scrambled to his right, and Pop Douglas was like on an intermediate route somewhere. Then he took off, and he just took off down the field, and he was running to the sideline, and he was like literally almost out of bounds. And it was like, a couple feet from the sideline. And I'm like, all right, I didn't know if he was going to just run out of bounds, throw it away, whatever. And he threw it, and it had to be like 60 some yards.
Yeah.
And Pop's running down the sideline. I'm like, there's no way he can get the ball to this guy, right? And it literally landed like this, and Pop scores and the place goes nuts. And I kind of looked around like, did anybody else see that? That was nuts, So look, he's been blessed with physical ability and tools, but I don't want that to take away from all the other things that he does to really put himself in position to be a really, really great player and impact his teammates. And so he's a special guy, and we're lucky to have the opportunity to work with him.
Like, you see the Buffalo game and some of the passes he makes in that game early on in the season. And then, of course, some of the stuff that he's done over the rest of the course of the season, these deep passes that are just the whole shots, all of it. Do you feel like he's just scratching the surface, though? Like, is this just like chapter one and there's so much more for him to go? Because he's doing stuff as a second-year quarterback that is light years ahead of the timeline.
I think he gets better weekly. I've said that for a long time now. And I mean that. I mean, there's certain things that he sees, we see, that, we can make progress on that. And so I would believe that for any second-year player, that they're just scratching the surface, because there's so much more to experience in the National Football League. There's so much more football to play and then learn from for Drake, that I do believe that, it's just starting, and he's really put himself in a good position, put our team in a good position by the way he's helped us and played. But I'm really excited about where this can go, and there's a lot of young players around him that are also learning and growing and building as well, which I think is another exciting thing for us.
Yeah, these are going to be quick. I'm going to just give you a couple names and give me one hitters on like what you've seen and what you like, because I think Patriots fans will get excited over this. TreVeyon Henderson, year one. He's really picked it up the second half of the season. What have you seen from him?
An incredible attitude, and an approach on a daily basis. He's out there every day, every rep. He does it as fast as he possibly can, and we know that that's explosive. And then he runs back and he's ready to do it again. And so I think for a young player to have that mindset and that approach, it's easy to see why you would improve. And so TreVeyon's done a really good job of that.
Stefon Diggs,
bulldog. Just grinder, competitive, always wants to win, ready to work, has an intensity about him that's hard to describe, and I think has made a huge impact on our team.
Similar vein, Mack Hollins.
The chess piece. I know he came into the building kind of dressed as a chess piece that one day, but he does a lot of different things, and we ask him to do a lot of different dirty work as a receiver, but he also gets rewarded because of it, and unselfish a teammate as I've been around.
I love that. And the last wide receiver, the guy you mentioned, Pop Douglas, he makes these plays and you're like, wow, yeah, this guy's got something to him too. And he's really come a long way as well.
Yeah, he's got such a great burst and ability to stop and start. And for a young player, really understands how to run routes and do the right things at the top of the routes to create separation and get open. And I think he's another one that's just scratching the surface.
All right. As we wrap this, because you've already given us so much of your time, I'd like to go into story time just a bit with some of your favorite and our favorite personalities, having watched from afar. When I say your best Rob Gronkowski story, what's the one that comes to mind?
Oh, my. There's a lot of Gronk stories, but I think the one thing that doesn't, I came back in 2011 after our season was done with the Rams, and and was gonna be here eventually when Billy left for Penn State, and I remember the AFC Championship game against Baltimore, and this is a young player, who's kind of just getting rolling here. And he had an injury. I think it was an ankle, and it wasn't a simple thing. I don't believe, but this is a guy that was not going to remain out of the game, and so I think for all of Rob's incredible physical attributes, for all of the personality that we all recognize Rob for, to me, the thing that I remember very fondly is his toughness.
Yeah.
And being able to then have a chance to coach him for a number of years and watch him run onto the field in pregame and realize, like, we have the toughest guy out there on the field.
That is such a cool thing to say about someone, dude.
We're not going to get overmatched by the Ravens or the Steelers or the Bills or whatever. Rob running out of the tunnel made you feel like, you know what, this is a really special player, but he's also got a special type of toughness.
Dude, what a nice compliment to say about him. When you think about toughness, I also think of Julian Edelman, who was another colleague of mine at Fox for many years, and he swears by you, loves you. What's your best Jules memory?
I think the halftime of the Super Bowl against Atlanta.
All right, so down 28-3. Take us through it.
Yeah, he was just such a positive attitude and mindset at halftime, obviously, regardless of what the circumstances were. And so, as coaches, you're trying to kind of keep everybody's confidence and point of view, like all right, let's not lose sight of the fact that we still have another 30 minutes to go, even though it's not going our way. You're trying to do that, obviously, but for a player that was in the middle of the competition to say, hey, fellas, this is going to be a hell of a story. Like, just stay with us here. Let's keep doing this the right thing. Let's just play better, And I thought that for him to take that approach, it meant a lot to our players. And our players looked at him like, all right, well, he ain't panicking. So I think, all right, let's just go ahead and let's try to do that and get off to a better start in the second half and see what happens. And obviously he looks like Nostradamus now. So, but it was really cool to see a player that was that important to our team, providing the type of calming presence that you needed. And he wasn't always that. I can say that too. He was, sometimes he was up and down, but he was incredible on that day.
I love that. And then the last one would be Mike Vrabel. Your memory of Mike Vrabel as a player, something that you can think of, hey, he embodied it then and he walks the walk now as well.
Yeah, you would always want to be on his team. As a defensive player, there was so many things that he was asked to do in a game plan, from be a stand-up linebacker to rush on the edge, to drop into coverage, to, then there was, he would play on the scout team literally every day, and kind of piss off Tommy, because he'd play safety and then he would do something that the safety from that team didn't do. And they would get into an argument about it, but he wanted to compete. He wanted to go out there and help the team improve and get ready to win, and certainly played on offense and gave us a spark there down on the goal line too. But, he had that kind of moxie and approach and attitude and confidence that you're like, I want to be on this guy's team, and I'm sure if you weren't on his team, you hated it, you know what I mean? Because, he did the right thing. He was in the middle of the action all the time. And he was such a great presence and great leadership, provided great leadership for our team. And now I'm having an opportunity to see that firsthand here as part of his staff as well.
It's pretty cool. Even just hearing you talk about these games and these moments and these men, and you think about it, it's spanning decades. Like, you've got 20 years. I guess my last thing would be just like the brotherhood of what all of you who have been through it with the Patriots, whether it be we all heard from Bill this thing and we share that, or you and Brian Dable going back from 2000 and 2001. Like, that is a really special thing. A lot of franchises, it's like, all right, we had this coach and for 3 years it was these guys and they blew the whole building out and it was but it's decades now that the
Yeah.
Patriot way really means something.
Yeah, it does. And, I think the cool thing is having the opportunity to watch different groups of people achieve something special in their own era. I know, being a part of that very first group and watching that happen kind of from the ground up was really a neat experience for me. And there's so many people that I know, love, and respect from that group of 8 years that I was here. And then I know that there was the McCourties and the Gronks and the Julians, and the David Andrewses and the James Whites and
Danny Amendola,
the Hightowers, and the Danny that they wanted to do something different than that group had done because they had always heard about that group, and it was like, all right, I heard about it, and they wanted to do something, and they were able to figure out how to do that and achieve that, in their own way, and now you having a kind of a different opportunity now, a third time for myself to just come in and see this group, and see how they're going to take it and take the ball and make it their own. It's not the same as it was 25 years ago. It's not the same as it was 12 years ago, 10 years ago. And so this is a different group of people. It's going to be a different culture, but it's still that same, mentality. I think we all can share the same mentality of what we're working for and working towards, and that's to bring another, a team that can provide a championship to this organization. So really cool to be a part of. Very fortunate to have a chance a third time to be back here. No place I'd rather be.
You have such good juice to you, and I imagine you still have the same animosity and feelings towards the Dolphins, Jets, and Bills logos as you've always had.
That doesn't change. AFC East is the AFC East.
No doubt. And you guys are back in the mix again, and it's happy. It's good for all of us. We get this Bills-Patriots game. We're not going to preview that one. We're just going to sit back and watch and let you do your thing. But we've got 4 weeks left. Good luck with everything, man. I'm so happy for you to be back where you belong, and I'm so happy for your family as well. Josh, thanks for joining the show. You took a long time out of a big week, and we really appreciate it.
Thanks, P. Appreciate you, buddy.
You are the man. Thank you, Josh. Well, that was awesome. Josh McDaniels was incredible. I am so grateful to both he and Stacey James and Mike Vrabel. Stacey James is the PR chief in New England. He's been there for as long as I've been covering the league, and he helped make this happen. So Stacey, thank you. And Mike Vrabel for, giving the green light. A lot of guys wouldn't want their, coordinator talking and doing media, but in this case, it's a different relationship. And you could hear that. You could hear how, secure everyone in that building is, and the relationship between Vrabel and McDaniels. And gosh, was Josh good. Introspective. What did you do last year? I got healthy. I ended up scouting 45 teams and went on the road and had to go meet with 30 different coaches to learn. I got healthy. I wanted to lose weight. I lost weight. I wanted to go with my daughter on college visits. I got to do that. I got to take my kids to school. Josh has me in a feeling in a certain way because there's something to that. There's something to that, to knowing who you are and getting back to that person after what was a long meandering time from New England to Las Vegas to a year out of football. So very cool. Game of the week is that one. I know we've got a good one Thursday night, and Lions, Rams, or it's not Thursday night. Is it Thursday night? I don't think it's Thursday night. I think it's Sunday. Thursday night is Atlanta versus Tampa, but we got a good one with the Lions and the Rams. But everything to me is Buffalo, New England. The stakes are huge. Is this torch going to be passed? Is it going to be seized? Or is Josh Allen going to just say, no, not yet? I still have one more thing left to say. I cannot wait for this. I feel like it is a mega game, and it will decide what could be the path not only for the playoffs, but also the path for the next few years in the AFC East. Are these Patriots worthy opponents to Josh Allen and those Bills? They have been 15 weeks into the season. Can they finish the job on Sunday? I cannot wait for it. New England versus Buffalo, just an awesome game, and it is the game of the week. That's what we got, guys. That's what we're doing. Josh McDaniels, awesome. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And if you're watching on ESPN too, I appreciate your viewership as well. I hear the Nielsen rating is close to that Thanksgiving game between the Chiefs and the Cowboys. It's hitting 50 million. So appreciate the viewership. Until next week, hopefully we'll have a guest as good as that one. It's the Schrager Hour. We love doing this.